All right, welcome to the Committee on Conference on S58. And I know we've had our crack attorneys working on this, and I believe have come to an agreement, at least they have, as far as the language for the knowingly standard. That's one of the things that's outstanding, and the other is the application of that knowingly standard to essentially the catch-all, and we probably want to talk a little bit further about that, but I'll turn it over, I guess, to Nader if you want to tell where we were with the.
Well, after hours of fierce debate, we landed on removing the words subjectively believed and replacing it with was aware, followed by that there is a high probability and so on. So it would read was aware that there's a high probability that one or more preparations and so on and so forth. The logic being that, I think there was some concern about how do you define subjective belief, and we also followed some of the guidance that was in the SA's memo from last month that has the same language. So that's where we're at with that.
Right. I mean, we're fine with that. I don't know if the rest of your crew are fine with that. Senator Sears?
Yes, I think we're fine. I'm fine. I got to accept the call from Senator Lyons. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. You may want to mute yourself.
Are you there?
Yes, just a minute.
Sounds like we're all in agreement on that. So we'll change.
Yeah, that one. The next one is maybe more complicated. Talk a bit about it.
How about those Yankees? Trying to annoy Tom, it didn't work. He's not paying attention to me.
I'm better. Don't be saying that when Senator Sears can hear. He's a Red Sox fan too. Well, things will get all
see that
much
red hat?
more difficult.
That's known as the Teddy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Boston Scally, but it's the Teddy model named after Ted Williams.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's got a 9 inside on the
nice.
on the van.
The Yankees fan from Madison County.
How was sugar
Yankees
season?
fan from Madison.
Good sugar content, not so much production wise, just good sugar content. Ready to work on. Add some more.
But you still were doing it? You were still sugar? You're still shipping it out to.
Yeah. Still doing it.
The other important question is, did you get this?
No. Shut up. Last day of the season.
I apologize, but this had to do with the miscellaneous judiciary bill.
Yeah, and I certainly, if we can, just have a brief discussion about that as well in a bit. I'm just kind of curious what I should be getting my folks ready for on that part. But before, so the other issue that we had was whether this should apply to the catch-all. We certainly accepted applying it to xylazine, but looking at this a little bit further really has raised some concerns, which I will turn over to Joe to kind of hit on those concerns regarding the application to the catch-all provision, what I will call the catch-all provision.
Let me just 1 second so I have to pull up the definition section from, I forgot my book.
So bear with us for a moment, Senator Sears.
It's help when you click on the wrong title in the statutes as well.
Well, I think basically what I need to understand, and I don't know if Michelle is with us or anybody else, but if we take the knowingly section out of the catch-all, what happens when some new drug comes from China and our drugs are laced with those. And the knowingly standard would be what?
Yeah, and I think, Senator, that our concern is that, first of all, in those situations, I'm not sure that if it was this brand new drug from China, if it would rise to the level that is in the knowingly standard that we have, because we have this language about, was aware there's a high probability that one or more of the compounds, drugs, et cetera, is in the regulated drug. And so if it was something that was brand new, I think it would be highly unlikely that there would be awareness of this high probability that exists. And I think sort of the second part that led to our concern is when we really began to dig into the definition a bit more closely, and other members are raising concerns about this section, is sort of just how broad the definitions of depressant and stimulant drug, narcotic drug, and also are in this section. So there was sort of a concern that this actually may end up being too broad and sort of go against what we're trying to do by focusing on fentanyl and xylazine in particular with this with this bill, which I know is a really important part of this.
Okay, let me just make sure I understand the position of the House. And it is that position that you don't think that there's a high probability of a new synthetic drug coming that could cause huge problems. If we were sitting here 2 years ago, we would have never thought about xylazine. I mean, I didn't even know it existed. So, that's what I think the Senate is concerned with, and is reluctant to pass up the opportunity and then have to have the legislature go back when we discover the new drug.
Yeah,
I mean,
Senator, to interrupt you, but that's not our position. I think it's quite likely we will continue to see new drugs. I think we all just what you said with xylazine. I mean, who knew that was a thing a short time ago? I think it's the issue that if we're talking about a brand new drug, something that we aren't even aware of today, and might become trickling in 2 or 3 years. When we look at the knowingly standard, it would be highly unlikely that any sort of street level drug dealer would have would be aware of a high probability of this weird brand new drug that no one even knows about would rise to that standard essentially. And so it was, I think sort of my opinion, and I will of course allow my chair and vice chair to weigh in on this as well, is that xylazine is actually an excellent example of this. Is that we identified a problem and we're getting it done. We put it in statute. We've added this new knowingly standard to it, and so inside the legislative process, we're getting that done. And I think, at least personally for me, I think it makes sense that if something like xylazine comes up, we, reconvene and in the legislative process, identify what that drug is and make it illegal, rather than doing something that end up sort of being a really large fishing net for a lot of different things. Because the catch-all section, while, because it is so broad, it doesn't just cover new drugs, it also covers perhaps a lot of older drugs as well that would sort of get caught up in this fishing net, which is, I think, what the concern of members is, if that's accurate.
So Nader had a comment as well, Senator Sears.
Thank you. If I can just respond, I think one thing to keep in mind, as far as I'm understanding it, what we originally sent over contained the knowingly standard to be included in the definitions section, Title 18-4201, which also includes a lot of other drugs like cannabis, ecstasy, and I believe a few others that aren't included in 4234, which is what you sent over to us. So from what I'm understanding is there was initially quite a broad scope. And what we've sent is a more narrow version. The second iteration of the catch-all is a bit more of a narrow version in 4234 if we have the knowingly standard applying there. So that would be, that's my response to that.
So Senator Sears?
I'm with my vice chair.
Right. All right, well, we're gonna have to consider this a little bit further then. We may have to ponder this, but, yeah, go ahead.
Can I just ask a question? What's the reasoning for wanting to take out the knowingly standard because it covers a broad? Is this not something that still has to be proven in a court of law by the state attorneys?
Yeah, no, it does.
Then what's the harm here by including that standard in
Well,
there?
it is reducing the standard, for holding somebody, accountable for the drugs, that may be sold or trafficked. I mean, it's a reduced standard, and we're trying, yeah, and we're absolutely for that, given the actual problems we've seen with fentanyl and xylazine. This other catch-all is going to things we don't know are a problem, may become a problem, and we can address it when it becomes a problem, is the issue. And it does bring in a lot of other things that haven't risen to this issue of trying to identify the particular drug in the street named drugs. So that's the issue. We're being more focused on where the problem is that we know about and focused on a solution to address that problem.
So I just want to give you one reason why I'm so strong about this. Last March, a year ago March, 11 people overdosed in one weekend in Bennington on crack cocaine mixed with xylazine. And the EMTs were able to revive most of them, but could not use Narcan. I don't know that I want to wait till we see the problem before we address the problem. And there is no question in my mind that we'll see the same thing. And this is deeply personal to me, since one of the people who overdosed that weekend was somebody that I'm close with.
Understood. So let us huddle a little bit first.
Okay.
If we could. So let's do that.
You want us to leave the room?
No, we can go.
No, I think.
Okay.
That'll be easier. Well, then you can stay on the screen.
If you all want to talk.
All right, I'm gonna take this off.